Okay, the first part of this video, I feel like I've done enough with explaining my thoughts. So this is just me. I'm gonna ramble. I mean, I rambled in the first part, but I'm gonna ramble here. So if you want to watch this, listen to me ramble about this movie, cool. Wow. Okay, so here's what this movie's about. This movie opens with something from like 2019, and this dude, Corey, is babysitting this kid, and this kid locks him in the fucking attic, and Corey's trying to get out, right? And this kid's like got some emotional issues and stuff, and the parents are like, the mom, they're really rich. They live in this huge ass like McMansion somehow in Haddonfield, 3-story big ass thing. The movie like opens and instantly like shows you this like 3-story walk up, like you're like someone's coming off that railing, right? Like right when the movie starts, you're like someone's going over this railing. Who's it gonna be? It's probably gonna be the kid. And the parents go out or whatever, and this kid like locks him in the fucking attic, and he breaks out of the attic, and like right as the parents come home, and it felt like the scene in Kills when Michael opens like the car door and hits the woman and she like shoots herself, like just a really stupid thing. And that's what happens. He pushes the door open and somehow knocks this fucking kid like 7 feet back over the railing. The kid falls, hits the ground, and fucking dies. This series isn't afraid of killing kids. They killed a kid in the first movie, Halloween 2018. It's really a tetralogy. It's a 4-part movie series, but you know what I mean. I don't know. It was just like, okay, cool. All right, what's going on here? Not cool that a kid died, or but I'm like, all right, what's going on here? This character is important. Like this Corey character is important. They're starting the movie with him. That had me worried immediately. Like, I don't know who this is. As I've said in my last part of this video, my biggest problem with this whole series is that they keep throwing shit at the wall, and they have no plan for what they're doing. Nothing is plotted out or planned or anything. They just keep throwing shit at the wall. And I'm like, so as soon as I saw that scene, I was like, this dude's going to be the main character of this movie. Like, this movie's going to focus on this character. Otherwise, they would not have opened with this whole scene. And that had me immediately worried. I have to tell you that this opening scene, I don't think it was like mind-blowingly good cinema or anything, but it was by far the best part of this movie. Like, I don't really have too much of a qualm with this opening scene. If the rest of the movie was good, like this would be a great opening scene to a fun slasher movie. This is not a slasher movie. This isn't a slasher. It's almost not a horror movie. Like, there are kills in this movie, but the kills are like achingly obvious, like that, like the production team was like, oh, we have to put these in here because this is Halloween. And I said in my first part of this video that this doesn't feel like Halloween, and that's all I can think about. That like this is not a Halloween film, and at times it doesn't even really feel like a horror movie. It feels like a romance, like a drama, like romance. Like I just strongly like. It's so weird. Like I get vibes of like Wild at Heart by David Lynch. I don't know if I mentioned this in the first part. I don't really remember, but there is one scene where Corey and Allison are sitting on this rooftop, and for all the qualms I have with this movie, it was a good. The cinematography in that scene was quite good. The neon lights, the red light, and how they were baked in this red light. It was really well done, and I wonder. I don't know who did the cinematography. Excuse me, cinematography for this movie, but I just thought that movie was that scene in particular was really well done, and it kind of felt like Wild at Heart to me for some reason, in tone, I guess I could say, and it's like that's what they were going for with this movie. I think is tone, and it's like this movie, you can just see what they were going for. That's the problem, is that you can see what they were trying to do, and it's like it feels like a film student movie at times. Like they were trying out all these techniques and different ways to go with the story, and they were all done so poorly and on the nose. It's very awkward. So, anyways, Corey's the main character of this movie, and basically, this movie, Corey's now our main character, and he's like discount Harry Potter, and he's bullied and shit like that. And, so now the town hates him because he accidentally killed this kid or whatever, and everyone hates him. And then, like, there's this group of bullies in this movie who approach him at a gas station and start fucking with him. And they're like marching band geeks, which I don't. What? First off, these are high school kids. Like, if this happened to me, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. These high school kids are like picking on him constantly throughout this movie. Like they're only there to advance the plot. It's so bad. It's unbelievably poorly done. And they felt the need to say that they were marching band kids. I'm just like, I'm a musician, so maybe I'm a little bit biased. I wasn't in marching band, but like, that's not how marching band kids act, man. These are like jock characters. Why did they say they were marching band characters? I don't know. Poor writing. They're like cartoonishly evil kids. And they keep picking on this kid, and you get the feeling that like he's gonna snap and kill them. And they set that this Corey is the main character, by the way. I mean, I've said that already, but he is the main. This is the Corey movie. This isn't Michael Myers. This isn't Halloween. This is Corey. What was his name? Rowan Campbell. Okay, the actor. He did a fine job. He was okay. It's like most of the acting in this movie, like the big ones, are okay. I don't think anyone had a great performance in here, but there's bad acting in this movie, but probably not on the level of 2018. But this, or excuse me, of Halloween Kills. But this movie has such a like floaty, weird plot. There's not a lot of characters in this, so it doesn't. I can't like. The acting is kind of poor in this movie. All the issues of 2018 carry over, like poor production value, script writing, dialogue, bad ADR. But it doesn't. It's not exemplified, like it's not amplified because there's so fewer characters in this movie. This is like a character piece kind of movie, and it's like they spend so much time with this character trying to build him up and get you. It's like, do you want me to like him? But then he turns into the discount Michael Myers. So now I'm like, okay, so now I don't like him, but am I rooting for him? I don't know. And Laurie, who is now moved on from everything. 4 years later, this is a 4 years later fucking deal. She's moved on from everything, and she's now writing a memoir about this. She's moved. She bought a new house. Allison now lives with her. Allison is a nurse now, and Corey gets his hand cut by these kids, which also is like, that's brutal, man. What the fuck is wrong with these kids? They're psychos or what? What like they cut they it's just like stupid, and Laurie shows up and happens to be there and sees this kid, and it's like, but you were just trying to get me to think that Laurie's moving on from this, but then you bring back her badass side where she's like, let's pop these fucking kids' tires, and she pops their tires. And it's like, it's very, the whole movie, it's like so amateurish, it's like conflicting, like, is she trying to get over this, or, it's so weird. And then she tries to hook him up with her granddaughter, and this is, you're going to hear this, all right, like my long ass rambly review, but you're going to hear this in more succinct reviews. Like a lot of people are going, I haven't watched other reviews of this movie, but I would be shocked if they don't harp on this fact that the relationship between Allison and Corey is so badly done. It is so accelerated and awkward. Like, she meets him while she's suturing him in the doctor's office, and they fall in love instantly. Like, she instantly is smitten with him. It's like, what are you guys doing? Have you guys ever made a movie before? Have you ever seen a horror movie? Have you ever written a script like have you ever even watched Halloween? It's like they accelerate this relationship so quickly that you can't believe it. You know what I mean? Like, you can't buy into this. even if you're like, all right, like you learn pretty quickly in this movie that you're not going to be satisfied, that they're going to go some crazy route. But I mean, as I was watching it, I was trying to like suspend my frustration and be like, I'm just going to try to see if I can get into what they're doing. And I can't, because it's like, who could believe this relationship? It's ridiculously accelerated. It's like hyper, boom, she's in love with him. She'll fucking do anything for him. And that the first part of this, where I was talking about how they ruined Allison's character, I don't think Allison's character was like very well done to begin with, but like they were hinting at her maybe being the final girl or something like that. But she's just like a character, like she's just like a plot device in this movie. And it's just what the hell is going on here? So, anyways, let's just like accelerate this a little bit. She Corey, these fucking punks show up again, and and again, it's just like, this is too ridiculous to believe. Like, they throw this kid over a bridge. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? And the lead bully is like Gabagool Central. Like, he sounds like Anthony Jr. Like, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, he had like a Letterman jacket kind of deal, and he had that like swagger, like Jersey, like Italian kid. I was just like, what? What's happening here? They throw him over a bridge, and they're like, oh, I guess we killed him. Shit, we got to get out of here. And then Michael pulls him into the sewers. So I'm like, oh, I guess, like, I had a thought in my head, like, what are they gonna, how are they gonna explain, A, where Michael's been for 4 years, and B, like, how he survived that, and because it clearly hinted at him being supernatural in the last one. And I'm like, what are they gonna say? He was like in the sewers? Yeah. Not only was he in the sewers the whole time, but like over underneath this bridge, this overpass, there's just a sewer entrance that looks like it, right? Like, and you just walk in and he's just chilling there. Like, you walk in the sewer pipe and it's just this big set of like where Michael hangs out. And I'm like, dude, that's like 2 feet away from the opening of the sewer. Like, I know that this is a horror movie and I know that this is a bad movie, but I was just thinking of like how bad the writing is. Like, Michael killed so many people. Like, this is like a serial killer, and then he's at large. You don't think the police would check, like, you know what I mean? They would go in there. It's just like bizarre. Michael takes him and starts strangling him, and then there's this weird scene where he sees his eyes and he sees him killing this kid. Almost like he sees his potential to be a killer, and it's like he passes his evil over to him. And then Corey goes out and starts fucking killing people. He kills these kids off. He goes and kills this doctor that Allison's working for with her, the nurse that got the promotion who he's banging. And these scenes are just like so dumb because they feel like they're only there to give you the slasher content. Like, this movie feels like it wants to be some sort of artsy like romance drama that is done horribly and badly at every point, but it feels like it wants to be that. And they constantly were like, oh yeah, this is a slasher movie, let's throw a couple kills in there. And I just couldn't dig with the kills, man. Like, there's some really badly, like, there's a, like, he works at the junkyard and blah blah blah, and he goes to the junkyard and kills these kids, and it's just like I know John Carpenter made Halloween. I know he's one of the composers on this film. We don't need that big of a reference to Christine, man. We don't need that big of a reference. And then they kind of cut away from some of the kills too. And then they go to the DJ that you hear throughout the movie, who I'm like, you start hearing this DJ a couple times, and I'm thinking like, this DJ is not gonna play any role in this movie other than getting killed at some point, which is what happens. The DJ is only there to be killed, kind of like Big John and Little John a little bit in Kills, where yes, they live in his house, but you know they're only there to be killed. And it's kind of a waste of time in a way. And Michael kills this guy. And, like, you're going to like that kill, probably. Like, it's one of the few... There's not a lot of kills in this movie. It's not violent. I mean, it is, but it's not like Halloween Kills. It's not even like Halloween 2018. But as cool as that kill was, it was kind of done for laughs in a way. And it was so, like, unrealistically gory that I felt like they threw that in there to... like, make you be like, oh yeah, cool, a kill. Like Corey as Michael, you know, first off, he goes and steals Michael's mask, slaps him around like an old fart, and takes his mask, and then goes and kills some people. And he, like, bashes this guy's head into his DJ, turntable, and then is like, when he pulls him up, his face is like unrealistically like fucked up and his tongue is hanging out, and then he magically has a pair of scissors and cuts his tongue out, and his tongue is like rotating and skipping. I mean, it was a good kill, but it just felt like that was included to be like, look, it's a slasher movie. Let's wrap this up. So all this bullshit happens, and I'm like tired of this, and I'm thinking like, so I go, this is getting tiresome. Like Michael is like, he's like, Michael's helping him kill sometimes, but then Michael's getting stronger by killing. It's like these little seeds of ideas that they've tried to plant that they didn't know what to do with, and are trying to bring back, and then bringing new things back, and it's all very confusing. And then it's like we get to the end of the movie, and I remember I'm watching the movie and I'm going, what happens next? And I paused it and looked, and the movie's almost over. I'm like, oh shit, so we're about to end. And Corey shows up. Allison gets in a fight with Laurie and leaves or whatever. Allison like suddenly hates Laurie throughout this movie, and like Corey comes back, and there's a scene that's kind of cool where like Laurie pretends she's like gonna commit suicide. She calls the cops, reports her own suicide. You hear a gunshot. It's actually a pumpkin. Corey walks in the room and she's like, "You didn't think I'd kill myself?" And she shoots him a couple times, and he falls over the banister as, I guess you could say like in the beginning of the movie or whatever. And then Michael shows up and just straight up kills Corey. So it's like, well, what was that all about? How did Michael get here? Like, what the fuck? Like it's like they forgot that they needed to end the movie. So they're like, oh yeah. Anyways, there's 5 minutes left. Let's do this ending we've been hyping up. And then she fights Michael one-on-one, and it's not good. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I feel like it's like a 3-minute sequence, if not less, and it's just not good. The 2018 showdown between the two of them, way, 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 way better. And I didn't even love that showdown, but that's way better than this. And she stabs him in his arms and pins him to the table. She kind of pins him with the refrigerator, kind of like H2O. Like, it was a very obvious reference to H2O, which I'm kind of like, that movie has flaws, but that was such a better finality to the series, even though we have Resurrection. But let's pretend that doesn't exist, even though it's better than this. But she slits his throat. And I'm like, okay, I guess he's dead. And then they take him and they parade him around town. It's just like, again, it's like, I know this is a horror movie, but there's no way they'd let you do that. I mean, I don't know. It's like you're trying to be serious sometimes, but then you do this shit. So it just all feels disjointed. And then they throw Michael in a grinder and grind his body up and kill him, and then the movie basically ends. There's some other bullshit, like the sheriff is in it. It's all bullshit, okay? And the thing with this movie, the big thing too, I'm not going to go too much longer, by the way, because like, what more do I need to say? But this movie, I know, had different endings. Now, I don't know what those endings are, and I'm not going to spoil them for you here. Like, I don't know what they are. But what I will suspect, if I'm right, then don't tell it. Yeah, I didn't spoil it. I'm just guessing. I have a feeling that they were setting this movie up to be where like Corey inhabits Michael's evil, or Michael's evil is passed down to Corey and he becomes the new Michael Myers, because there are so many ADR scenes in this that are so bad, it feels like they had to redub dialogue and change the dialogue later on. Or, I mean, that could just be a cheap thing. Like they shot scenes very quickly, you can tell, and maybe the take wasn't good, so they dubbed it. But there's a lot of scenes, specifically the ending and how quick it is. It just feels like they just added it in. Like, honestly, like the whole fight between Laura and Michael feels like it was added in post. Like they went and reshot that because people didn't like the ending. I know this test screened and people didn't like the ending, but the way that they kill Michael, or not kill him, but destroy his body, the scene where he's thrown into this crusher, Laurie pushes his body in, and then it cuts to a scene where he's like almost like he's in the crusher already. Like it's like a 2-second little shot of his body being destroyed, and it doesn't look that great. It doesn't look terrible, but it looks like I don't know. It looks like they were like, we have like one. It almost looks like they said we have one dummy body filled with like guts and stuff to throw in this crusher, because they obviously threw it in a real crusher, right? I'm assuming. And it just feels like they were like, we can only do this shot one time and we got to get this done, so it's got to be what it's got to be. And it looks like an insert shot, like they added this shot after the fact, or they shot it as a pickup shot for like, okay, if we don't like the ending, we can change it to this. and the actual shot itself is of lower quality than the rest of the movie. Like the lighting is off, the contrast is higher, the brightness is higher, and it's a nitpick. It's only like a very quick boom. Like it's almost like blink and you'll miss this shot of his body being destroyed. But the fact that it starts like it's just awkwardly shot, and the way it's filmed and looks different, it just feels like they threw that in. It feels like Corey was supposed to like become the villain. And maybe that is what the real ending was. I don't know, but I'd be curious. I wouldn't be surprised. That would actually be a better ending. Now, I don't think that would be a great ending to this trilogy, but I definitely think that would be a like more satisfying ending, because the way it ended is just like it's not really like satisfying to fans, and it's very like, oops, we forgot to finish this. So it's bizarre. And the whole movie, I've said this a million times now, but it feels pretentious and mediocre and sad to watch at times, because like I said, it's so heavy-handed that you can always see what they were trying to do, but they just couldn't do it. Was that studio intervention? Was that a lack of talent? I don't know, but this is a disaster of a film. It's worse than 2018, or it's worse than Halloween Kills for sure, which I thought was terrible again. It's terrible, and I'm done with this kind of shit. I'm really done with it. I want to just see original stuff from now on. This doesn't sour the series. Like, I still have a lot of movies I like, but they failed at being a slasher. They failed at being an entertaining film, and they failed at making a cohesive film. This film itself is a failure. The whole trilogy is a failure. At least the 2018 one was pretty good. I don't know. Like, it doesn't ruin the series, like I said. I always have those movies, but I'm done with Halloween. Like, I think it's time to move on. And I feel this way about a lot of these kind of series, like Friday the 13th, if you recall, like that remake that came out in 2009 or whatever, which was kind of crappy, but like a okay popcorn flick. And then they said if that movie Rings doesn't do well, when we're not going to make a sequel. And I'm like, well, then we know that's not going to do well, and it didn't. And I wasn't really that disappointed. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like, I think we're done with this, you know. And that's how I feel about Halloween. Like, I think we're done. It's clear that no one can make a good like package of movies. Not that no one can make a good movie, because there's some good ones, but they just can't do it. The studios can't help themselves. You know, it's just, I'm done with this shit. And they're going to make another one. Not in this storyline, but they'll make another one in a couple years. Will I see it? I don't know. Thanks for sticking with me. That was so like one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time. Yeah, I'm kind of defeated from this, but whatever. All right, have a great day. Let me know what you thought of this film.